It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Vishal Sahni. Dr. Vishal Sahni is Assistant Professor in Faculty of Engineering at the Alvag Educational Institute. He obtained Bachelor's degree in Electrical Engineering in 1999, MTech in Engineering Systems in 2001, and PhD in Evolvable Hardware Systems in 2004, all from the Alvag Educational Institute. He has been recipient of President's Gold Medal of the Alvag Educational Institute twice, in 1999 and 2001. His research interests are quantum and nanocomputing. He has authored a book entitled Quantum Computing, published by McGraw-Hill, and co-authored another 2 books on nanocomputing and quantum information systems. He is the coordinator of the Memorandum of Understanding between DEI and University of Waterloo. Dr. Sahni is also the Secretary of the System Society of India. It's my pleasure to welcome Dr. Vishal Sahni.
Thank you, Professor Kalra, for the nice introduction, and welcome to Kansas 2012. This tutorial talk is on quantum information systems and their graph theoretic system modeling. The outline of the talk is we start with some discussion of quantum information systems. We move on to graph theoretic quantum system modeling, challenges before quantum information processing, evidence of quantum computing in the brain, quantum approaches to consciousness, and the contribution of DI Quantum Nanosystem Center to the field. We start with a quote by Michio Kaku. It is often stated that of all the theories proposed in this century, the silliest is quantum theory. In fact, some say that the only thing that quantum theory has going for it is that it is unquestionably correct. So we start with information. The crux of information theory is the measure of information. In the context of communication, information is simply the commodity produced by the source for transfer to some user at the destination, otherwise the transfer would be zero. Shannon identified information measured by the logarithmic function II is minus log dpi, where the convention appropriate is 0 into log 2 0 is 0 square. So the minus sign ensures that entropy is always positive or 0. There is a quantum analog of entropy known as von Neumann entropy. Just as Shannon entropy measures the amount of order in a classical system, von Neumann entropy gauges order in a given quantum system. The von Neumann entropy for a quantum source represented by a density operator D is HV is minus sigma 1 to n lambda I log 2 lambda I, where lambda 1, lambda 2, dot dot lambda n are the eigenvalues of D. A striking difference between quantum and classical information storage is that we cannot clone unknown quantum states. That is, given a quantum state such as a qubit ket chi is alpha ket 0 plus beta ket 1, it is impossible to produce 2 copies ket chi without knowing the values of alpha and beta. This is due to the linearity of quantum mechanics. Quantum measurement. The act of carrying out an observation on a given physical system is called measurement. Just as a single observable represents a specific question posed to the system, measuring is the process consisting of asking a specific question and receiving a definite answer. In classical physics, we implicitly assumed that first the act of measuring would leave the system in whatever state it already was, at least in principle, and the result of a measurement on a well-defined state is predictable. That is, if we know the state with absolute certainty, we can anticipate the value of the observable on that state. Both these assumptions proved wrong, as research in the subatomic scale has repeatedly shown. Systems do get perturbed and modified as a result of measuring them. Furthermore, only the probability of observing specific values can be calculated. Measurement is inherently a non-deterministic process. Quantum measurements are controlled by the third postulate of quantum mechanics, which states that a quantum state can be measured by use of a set of orthogonal projections. If ket phi 1 dot dot ket phi k are orthogonal states, then a quantum state ket psi can be measured by use of ket phi 1 dot dot ket phi k and collapses into the state ket phi I with the probability shown. Let us look at the effect of multiple observables. For our experiment, we use thin semi-transparent polarization sheets which do 2 things. Once we orient them in a specific direction, they measure the polarization of light in the orthogonal basis corresponding to that direction, say the vertical horizontal basis. So light partially passes through one polarization sheet as shown. If we have 2 sheets and they were oriented in the same direction, there would be no difference whatsoever. However, if we rotated the second sheet by 90 degrees, then no light would pass through both sheets as shown. Placing the sheets orthogonal to each other ensures that the permitted half that passes through the left sheet is filtered out by the right sheet. So no light passes through the two polarization sheets at orthogonal angles. If we now add a third sheet to the left or to the right of the other two sheets, it does not have any effect whatsoever. No light was permitted before and none will be allowed to the additional sheet. However, placing the third sheet in between the other two at an angle of 45 degrees does have a remarkable effect, as light will now pass through all the three sheets. So only 1/8 of the original light passes through all three sheets. The summary of this experiment is that the answers we get will depend on which order we pose our questions, that is, which observable we measure first. When we measure several observables, the order of measurement matters. We move on to some criteria for physical realization of quantum computers. They say that it is almost a decade away. In principle, a large-scale quantum computer can be built using these primitives, which must be realized by a controllable quantum system, provided the physical system meets the following requirements spelled out by De Vincenzo. He is a scientist at IBM Research Labs. These criteria are called as the De Vincenzo criteria. The first 5 criteria relate to quantum computing and the last 2 relate to quantum networkability. First is a scalable physics system with well-characterized qubits. Second, the inability to initialize the state of the qubits to a simple fiducial state. Third, long gate coherence times, much longer than the gate operation time. Fourth, a universal set of gates is experimentally feasible. 5, a qubit-specific measurement capability. 6, the ability to interconvert stationary and flying qubits. 7, the ability to faithfully transmit flying qubits between specified locations. This table shows the various quantum computing approaches: trapped ion, NMR, neutral atom, cavity QED, optical, solid state, and superconducting. And each technology has been assigned a grade vis-a-vis each of the De Vincenzo criteria. The legend is grade A means a potentially viable approach has achieved sufficient proof of principle. B means a potentially viable approach has been proposed, but there has not been sufficient proof of principle. C means no viable approach is known. So each technology has been evaluated on the basis of these criteria. You can see that no single technology has got all straight A's. If some single technology achieves all straight A's, then we'll have a working quantum computer. So you can see some technology like NMR has got very good quantum computing capabilities, but as far as networkability goes, it gets a C grade. So this is the comparison on the basis of De Vincenzo criteria. The challenges before quantum information processing are identification of the best suitable physical system which allows for scalability, coherence, and fast implementation of quantum information processing, engineering and control of quantum mechanical systems far beyond anything achieved so far, in particular concerning reliability, fault tolerance, and using error correction, development of a computer architecture taking into account quantum mechanical features, development of interfacing and networking techniques for quantum computers, investigation and development of quantum algorithms and protocols, transfer of academic knowledge about the control and measurement of quantum systems to industry, and thus acquisition of industrial support and interest for developing and providing quantum systems. Quantum computers are maybe much closer to us than previously thought. There is evidence of quantum computing in the brain through microtubules. Their experimental evidence is there by the experiments of Bandyopadhyay in Japan. In fact, they say there are billions of quantum computers inside our brain. It is the schematic representation of a neuron showing the arrangement of microtubules. Earlier, the neuron was considered as a classical computer, but now they say that quantum computing is going on inside the microtubules in a neuron. Each tubulin molecule may switch between 2 or more conformations or in a quantum superposition of states. It can be in a superposition of states. This shows the schematic of quantum computation of 3 tubulins. So it can be in a total superposition of 8 states, and ultimately it collapses to a single outcome state. The various quantum approaches to consciousness are: the first is the von Neumann step formulation. This tripartite quantum dynamics involves process 1, choice. Within the von Neumann framework, our conscious choices fix the orientations of the basis vectors. Process 2, causation, is evolution via quantum process. Process 3 is chance, which is nature's answer to the question posed by process 1. For example, will the detecting device be found in a state that signifies, yes, a detection has occurred? The second approach is Penrose-Hameroff formulation. It consists of 3 parts: the Gödel part, the gravity part, and the microtubule part. The von Neumann step formulation of quantum theory provides the foundations of a pragmatic neuropsychodynamics that is built on contemporary physical theory or quantum theory rather than an inadequate classical theory. John von Neumann converted Copenhagen quantum theory in a series of steps into a form in which the entire physical universe, including the brain of each agent, is represented in one basic quantum state, which is called the state of the physical universe. The dynamics consists of three processes: a detailed examination based on an analysis of the critical brain process of exocytosis, the dumping of neurotransmitter molecules into the synaptic cleft and separates communicating neurons, shows that at the level of basic principles, quantum mechanics must be used in the treatment of dynamical processes occurring in human brains. Process 1 is the so-called Heisenberg choice on the part of the experimenter about how to act. At the pragmatic level, it is a free choice because it is controlled in practice by the conscious intentions, thought, actions and feelings of the experimenter or participant. Each intentional action involves an effort to produce a conceived experimental feedback, which, if it occurs, will be an experiential confirmation of the success of that effort. Within the von Neumann framework, our conscious choices fix the orientations of the basis vectors. These choices can strongly influence our actions. Process 2 is the quantum analog of the equations of motion of classical physics obtained by certain quantization procedure, such that resulting equations of motion are local, that is, interactions are between immediate neighbors and also deterministic as in classical physics. Evolution by the quantum process 2 normally has the effect of expanding the microscopic uncertainties beyond what is demanded by the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. The cloud of microscopic possibilities spreads out, if unchecked by any other process, into the macroscopic domain and causes disparity. Process 3 is called the Dirac choice, choice on the part of nature, and it can be regarded as nature's answer to the question posed by process 1, such as, will the detecting device be found to be in the state that signifies yes, a detection has occurred, or will the gauge counter be observed to fire in accordance with the experimental conditions that define a yes response. Each process 3 reply must be preceded by a process 1 question. This is because process 2 generates a continuous infinity of possible questions that cannot all be answered consistently with the mathematical framework provided by quantum theory. A rapid sequence of pairs of questions and answers can, by virtue of the quantum laws themselves, hold a particular pattern of neurological activity in place against the physical forces that would tend quickly to disrupt it. If the pattern of neurological activity were to be a template for action, that is an executive pattern of neurological activity that tends to produce a specific action, then the prolongation of the activation of this executive pattern of brain activity can tend to cause the intended bodily action to occur in accordance with William James' ideomotor theory of action. According to that theory, it is the holding in place of the idea of an action that tends to make that action happen. It has been extensively studied by quantum physicists, both empirically and theoretically, under the title quantum Zeno effect. This tripartite quantum dynamics involving choice, causation and chance, and the implementation of will via the conscious control of the rapidity of process 1 events provides the mathematical and logical foundation of a pragmatic quantum approach to neuropsychology. The second approach is the Penrose-Hameroff formulation of orchestrated objective reduction. Perhaps the most ambitious attempt to create a quantum theory of consciousness is the one of Sir Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff. It has three parts: the Gödel part, the gravity part, and the microtubule part. The Gödel part is an effort to use the famous Gödel's incompleteness theorem, which says that any finite set of rules that encompass the rules of arithmetic is either inconsistent or incomplete. It entails either statements that can be proved to be both true and false, or statements that cannot be proved to be either true or false, to prove that human beings have intellectual powers of non-computable thought and understanding that they could not have if they functioned in accordance with the principles of classical physical theory. Proving this would reaffirm a conclusion of the von Neumann formulation of quantum theory, namely that a conscious human being can behave in ways that a classical mechanical model cannot. However, the Gödel part cannot now be regarded as having been established successfully. The gravity part addresses a key question pertaining to quantum dynamics: exactly when do the sudden quantum jumps occur? The Dicey-Penrose DP expectation is that objective reduction occurs when the overall separation reaches a critical amount given by the Planck-Dirac constant. Penrose-Hameroff theory proposes that this time interval is the duration of time for which nature will endure this bifurcation of space-time structure into the two incomputable parts before jumping to one or the other of these two forms. This conjectured rule is based on two very general features of nature: Planck's universal constant of action and Newton-Einstein universal law of gravitation. It invokes quantum theory, attempting to combine quantum theory with Einstein's theory of gravity, namely general relativity. Moreover, according to orchestrated objective reduction, this is accompanied by an element of proto-consciousness. Does this rule have any empirical support? An affirmative answer can be provided by the microtubule part of Penrose-Hameroff theory by linking Diacy-Penrose objective reduction rule to Hameroff's belief that consciousness is closely linked to the microtubular structure of the neuron. This shows topological quantum computing going on. Inspired by Penrose-Hameroff orchestrated OR theory, Burman et al. Have used an extremely simplified model of tubulin dimers, each represented simply as a qubit. The Hamiltonian is given as Hj is k sigma h plus a sigma z. The first term represents the flipping of the qubit from one state to the other, called as tunneling. The second term represents the energy difference between the two states. We have also attempted computation of Lyapunov or energy function of quantum Hopfield networks and modeling of microtubules as quantum Hopfield networks. A whole head squid system has been proposed by Ota et al. In Japan to study quantum computing in the brain. A magnetically shielded room is being installed at Dalbagh Educational Institute, as mentioned in the vision talk yesterday. In fact, the stuff arrived just 2 days back and we'll have it ready by mid-December. This will be used to study the quantum computing going on in the brain. We visited a similar facility at Indira Gandhi Center for Atomic Research, Kalpakkam, recently. I'll give a brief glimpse of equipment at the Quantum Nanosystem Center. We have got superconducting quantum interference devices installed in pulse tube coolers, and we propose to utilize them as qubits also. And this is the first setup of its kind here. It will be made available for online use through the web interface of DI Virtual Labs also. We have reached cryogenic temperatures of 3.26 Kelvin in this lab. This shows the state of the field of quantum computing in India compared to the world. The blue line is the funding in India. So you can see we are way behind countries like China and Japan in the field, even Asian countries. This shows the funding of quantum information or computation or processing. So USA, Canada, Japan, Australia, Brazil, China, India comes 7th. So we need to invest a lot in the field. To bridge this gap, the government of India has sanctioned the Quantum and Nanocomputing Virtual Project. It is a project under the National Mission on Education through Information and Communication Technology of Ministry of Human Resource Development, Government of India. DI is the coordinating institute. The other partner institutes are IIT Delhi, IIT Kanpur and IIT Madras. The project objectives are to bring together through information and communication technology complementary research strengths of the partnering groups spread all over the country. This is the first such attempt in the country to utilize the latest distance learning technologies and provide opportunities to young scientists and researchers at any place and time for inclusive growth and dissemination of knowledge through ICT by organization of such winter schools. This is the roadmap we have prepared for quantum information in India. We started way back in 2007. A shared vision workshop was organized on quantum nanocomputing to generate awareness in the field. This was followed by development of collaborations. Conclave 2007 was organized. First Indian books on quantum and nanocomputing were co-authored. And the Quantum Nano School, the first Quantum Nano School Kansas 2008 was organized to propagate this field among students. In the pilot stage of the MHRD and MEICT project, Kansas 2009 was organized. We had Nobel laureates here for lectures. Then after that, we are trying to achieve convergence by unification of interdisciplinary focused areas of partners for wider catchment. Our ultimate aim is realization of and qubit demonstration and realization of an Indian quantum computer. Our national partners are IIT Kanpur, IIT Delhi, IIT Madras, Indian Institute of Science Bangalore, IIT Bombay, IIT Kharagpur, TIFR Mumbai, IMSC Chennai, IOP Bhubaneswar, ISI Kolkata, IIT Roorkee, ARC Mumbai. In fact, this list keeps on growing. We are adding more and more partners. Our international partners are Institute for Quantum Computing, University of Waterloo, Canada, Institute for Quantum Sciences, Michigan State University, USA, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, University of Maryland, College Park, IBM Watson Research Center, Alcatel-Lucent Bell Labs, and this list also keeps growing. We have charted out a roadmap. Our quantum information computation roadmap has got 3-year goals, which include delivery of squid-based quantum computing, unified modeling theory for information processing circuits, and conceptual framework for remote communication using quantum teleportation. Among our 5-year goals, we will demonstrate tools for unified representation in quantum informational computation, coordinate field theory, and string theory, and we wish to achieve in 10 years convergence or unification attempts for a theory of everything. We have regular classroom interaction between Dalbagh Educational Institute, IIT Kanpur, IIT Delhi, University of Waterloo, Michigan State University. In fact, all the lectures of the previous editions of Kansas are available online on the project website. So students can, apart from those who are attending it, students can make use of it anywhere, anytime, any place at their convenience. These are some glimpses of the shared vision workshop on soft quantum and nano computing, SQUANT 2007. We had a webcast from University of California, Berkeley, and we had the first panel discussion on quantum computing in the field. Next was Conclave 2007. We had people from all over the country. When Kansas 2008 was organized, Dr. Charles Bennett, the discoverer of quantum teleportation, was here for the inaugural talk. He's at IBM Research. In Kansas 2009, Professor Douglas Osheroff, Nobel laureate in physics, delivered the inaugural talk. He shared the Nobel Prize in 1996 with Professor Robert Richardson at Cornell. 2009, the inaugural talk was delivered by Professor Douglas Osheroff, and the subsequent year we had his co-awardee, Professor Robert Richardson, delivered the inaugural talk. There was a panel discussion at Kansas 2009 which concluded that critical mass is being approached in India in the field with experts from physics, chemistry, electrical and electronics engineering, computer science and information technology. The Quantum Nano Center is acting as a glue or catalyst in bringing together the various fields as well as partner institutes. This was Kansas 2010. We had Professor Robert Richardson from Cornell. He shared the Nobel Prize with Professor Osheroff. Keeping in view the growing interest of scientists in consciousness studies, in Kansas 2011, we invited Professor Stuart Hameroff for the inaugural talk, and a lot of water has flowed down since then. After that, a large team from DI visited University of Arizona for the Toward the Science of Consciousness 2012 conference. Then there was an international review of quantum roadmap during Kansas 2011. The consensus was that the project has indeed brought together partnering groups spread all over the country, and we should continue to utilize the latest distance learning technologies and provide opportunities to young scientists and researchers. There should be continued dissemination of knowledge through ICT, and Kansas should continue regularly, and a few working models, demonstrations of experiments in the field should be set up at a few labs in India. Having missed the Silicon Revolution in the 70s, India should not miss the quantum revolution. These are glimpses of few books co-authored at DEI, IIT Kanpur, DEI, IIT Delhi and University of Waterloo. The need of the hour is indeed an Indian roadmap. Love Grover, the inventor of Grover search algorithm, has said, having missed the boat in the Silicon Revolution in the 70s and 80s, India should make every attempt not to let it happen again, even if it means spending some resources on technologies like quantum computing, which are speculative but hold tremendous potential. Every advanced country has its own quantum information science and technology roadmap. In fact, the United States prepared the first roadmap in April 2004, which was prepared by Quantum Information Science and Technology Research Panel, ARDA. Europe has its own Quantum Information Processing and Communication Consortium. They prepared a strategic report in 2009. It was a pan-European effort to position Europe as a world leader in quantum information processing and communication. Canada has a very advanced program in quantum computing. They call it QuantumWorks Canada. It is an NSERC funded innovation platform that links Canadian researchers with industrial and government agency partners to lead Canada into the next technological revolution, that is of quantum information processing. So it is all the more important that India should have its own quantum computing roadmap, and we are trying to develop that in partnership with all the research institutes spread over the country, and we look forward to have more and more partners and make a mark in the field. The Toward the Science of Consciousness 2013 conference, TSC, is a regular event. In fact, it is organized every alternate year at Center for Consciousness Studies, University of Arizona, Tucson, and the other year at some location around the world. A large contingent from DI visited Arizona for TSC 2012. Next year we will be having the TSC 2013 at Jalbagh Educational Institute from March 3rd to 9th, 2013. So all of you are cordially invited. The speaker is extremely grateful to revered Professor Prem Sadan Satsangi Saab, Chairman Advisory Committee on Education, Jalbagh Educational Institutions, for introducing him to the fields of quantum and nano computation and information and fraternal guidance and incessant encouragements.